As you guys know, we haven't gotten a new Skylanders game in 7 years, but I honestly think that Skylanders could have prevented its own demise. Today, I'm going to go through a couple things that could have been done. The first and most important thing, the frequency in which Skylanders games are released. Every single year. I believe this is definitely one of the main reasons Skylanders ended after Imaginators. So what do I think Activision / Toys for Bob should have done? I think they could have released a new Skylanders game every 2 years. And during the off year, they could drop a couple adventure packs every other month, giving fans new levels to play. Reason 2 for how Skylanders could have prevented its own demise is that gimmicks became dry. Now what I mean by that is that gimmicks in Skylanders games used to be way more unique. For example, Swap Force, where you could swap the top or bottom half of your Skylander with that of another Skylander, creating unique combinations with their own abilities. By the time we got to Superchargers, it just felt lazy. We got vehicles. I think that extra year I talked about earlier would give Toys for Bob more time to come up with a more thought out gimmick. Something like Fusion would have been neat to see. Now I know I said the death of Skylanders could have been prevented, but maybe Skylanders ending wasn't a bad thing. Think of it like this. Look at a series like Call of Duty. As soon as it started, it was a massive success. They kept making games, and people kept coming back. After a few years, people noticed there was a slight decline, but still, nonetheless, they came back. Soon, COD reached a point where the decline was so noticeable that people started actively hating on the series. All of this also happened to Skylanders, but Activision put the nail in the coffin before Skylanders ever became notorious for being bad. Unlike Call of Duty, they're still going. With that being said, I think Skylanders has the perfect chance to come back. People have extremely fond memories of playing, even to the point where a fake Skylanders leak became a trending topic on social media. So if Toys for Bob ever brings back Skylanders and they maintain quality, unique gimmicks, and a fun story, I honestly don't see the series going anywhere. Unless they kill Glumshanks again. That's the reason it ended in the first place.
Hey everyone, Victor from Saving Skylands here on Thumplander's channel to give my input on why Skylanders died and how it possibly could have been avoided. I'll be covering two big factors that I personally think led to Skylanders' demise, the games themselves, and possibly being too much too quick. Starting with the games themselves, there's definitely a disconnect between several of the games, and I'm not referring to the gameplay because that just got better with each game. I'm more so talking about the story and the design of the games. Skylanders would have been so much better with a continuous story introducing new characters throughout all 6 games. A lot of people felt a huge disconnect, including myself, when Swap Force came around and all of our favorite NPCs were gone, except a few. But at least the story is still connected to the previous games. Then Trap Team came around with a fantastic game and story that felt like a perfect ending with you now controlling chaos and fighting evil together. Next was Superchargers. When that one came around, it had a great story, but it still doesn't make sense to follow Trap Team's story. After that came Imaginators, which has the most bland story, and it feels like a totally different franchise at that point. For the game designs, we can all see and agree that the Vicarious Vision games feel and play differently. That could be an important change for some as well. All I'm saying is that with these confusing disconnects, it can 100% take players out of the games and make it way less enjoyable. Now on to the too much too quick topic. Skylanders has never, ever, and still isn't, a cheap hobby. And with 6 straight years of hundreds of toys, most families can't spend so much money on plastic toys that their kid might use for a year or 2. I think it would have been better to release the games every other year, but to keep the game still relevant, release different waves of Skylanders till it got close to the next game's release. Either way, the death of Toys to Life and Skylanders seems inevitable. Just maybe its life could have been extended a little longer. But who knows? Maybe we'll see it again. One day, with or without the toys. I'm sure you'll see Skylanders rise again.
To me at least, I think that the death of Skylanders was basically unpreventable. In my opinion, the reason why Skylanders started to die off in the later games was because of the decline of the Wii console. The Wii was the Skylanders' biggest market when it came to game sales. Here, I even made a graph to show you what I'm talking about. As you can see, the first 3 Skylanders games all had Wii sales within the 2 millions, most by a country mile for any console. And if you notice, the first game to see a significant drop in sales for the Wii console, Trap Team, was also the first Skylanders game to sell less copies than the last game. If Trap Team had sold at least 2 million copies for the Wii, which still would have been the lowest performing game on the Wii up to Trap Team still would have been the second highest selling game for Skylanders ever. Now I wonder why Trap Team sold less copies for the Wii. It couldn't have been to do anything with the Wii's performance with Swap Force. Okay, jokes aside, I mean a bunch of people probably saw how badly Swap Force was on the Wii, and that turned them away from buying Skylanders Trap Team the year later. I truly believe if the Wii could have handled Swap Force anywhere near the Xbox and PlayStation, then sales for Trap Team would have been way better. I also made another version of that graphic I showed you, just to show you how much the Wii actually sold for Skylanders. The Wii sold 52% of the game copies in 2011, 46% in 2012, and 34% in 2013. I think that the Wii U could be a reason why some of the Wii copies aren't as high in the later games, and some of the Wii copies might have been stolen from the Wii because of the Wii U, but since the Wii U did sell pretty terribly, I don't think this is the case. But when you lose a whole 30 to 50% of your profits for your game, then yeah, obviously your game is not going to sell as well. Most Nintendo fans probably didn't buy a Wii U, but instead waited for the Nintendo Switch, so they never got to play a good Skylanders game on a Nintendo console after Giants until 2017 when Imaginators came out on the Switch. And by that time, Imaginators was already a couple months old, so no one really bought the game for the Switch, as you can see. If Skylanders games were able to perform consistently on the Wii, then Skylanders wouldn't have lost a massive part of their fan base. It also didn't help that Swap Force sold the best out of every Skylanders game, so basically everyone was exposed to how bad the Wii version really was, and that definitely had an effect on sales for Trap Team. Skylanders' death was basically unpreventable, and it was caused because of the Wii's decline.